On this episode of Still Loading, who knew octopuses could be so evil? Hello everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Still Loading. For this week's episode, we are diving back into the video game canon of James Bond, and for this week, we are covering From Russia with Love, which came out for the Xbox, original Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. And today, I have my good old buddy from the Know Geeks Allowed podcast, Bryan.
Hey, what's up?
How are you doing today?
I am doing good. How about yourself?
I am tired, but I'm always tired.
I think we're all tired.
It's just the common state of being an adult now.
Never get enough sleep.
Never, ever. So I had you on today. One, because Justin bailed out and he's been doing the James Bond game. So you were the second pick. How does that make you feel? Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was because I just sent you a picture of the actual game. Like 2 minutes after you posted that, I'm like, I had this. It's in my. I was in my room, and I'm like, I just went, like, grabbed that. I'm like, I played this game. One of the probably few people that that actually own this.
I have two different versions of it. I actually have a PS2 version somewhere up there too. I played my Xbox copy, but so what I want to talk about to kind of start this off is let's go back in time. Let's go in the Wayback Machine. By way back, I mean only a little way back because this came out in 2006. I think it was 2006.
I think it was 2005.
Was it 2005? Yeah.
It got re-released in 2006 for like another version, I believe.
That's why I saw 2006 online. So it came out in 2005. This game features. So this game is a adaptation of the classic James Bond movie From Russia with Love, which came out a whopping. I didn't do the math before this, but 42 years before this game.
It's. You know what? It might hold the record for most movie adaptation, longest gap in between. I don't know if there's another one they did that's that long.
I mean, would you count any Looney Tunes reference? Because those are older. I mean, technically, to be fair, though, those generally aren't adaptations. Those are just kind of like new plots of it.
Just taken like from that universe.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they did have a Godfather game.
But that was also the 70s.
That was the 70s too.
And this is like the movie's at least 10 years older than The Godfather.
It was in the early 60s.
63, because the original. Wow. So the first three Bond movies came out in succession. I think they might have even come out for every year for after that, but I know at least the first three did. Dr. No was 62, From Russia with Love was 63, and then Goldfinger was 64.
It's three great movies. I love all of them.
It's crazy to think that they came out back to back to back. Like there's no way they could make a James Bond movie year after year after year. They would have to do what they did with Lord of the Rings, where they would film it all at once.
Yeah. Absolutely, which they did not do back then. They did not know if the series was going to continue after like one.
No, and what's even crazier to think about, this is not related to the game or the movie that's based off of, the entire budget of the first movie was $1 million, which was how much they paid Sean Connery to come back in Diamonds Are Forever. And also, just that budget, $1 million, is as much as the volcano set from You Only Live Twice, the volcano end set.
Oh, yeah. Was it talking about the interior or like the
whole interior of the base? That
was
cost
very
$1 million.
Intricate. I always love that scene.
That's that production value.
Absolutely great. One of my favorite movies. Also, it doesn't hold up as far as content.
It's weird. So we're gonna have to come back to that because it's not from Russia with Love. But I'll talk to you off mic about that.
We have so many James Bond.
I love that movie.
That.
The movie came out in 63. The game came out in 2005. And what I love, we watched a couple behind-the-scenes featurettes about this beforehand. And one of my favorite bits is that they one of their big selling points, one of their big advertising factors is that they added 2 new Bond girls to this game that did not exist in the movie.
They did.
And that really... The reason I was saying let's go back, let's put ourselves in a point in time is because the people they added are very much... one-hit wonders of that specific moment in time. They got Natasha Bedingfield, hot off of her platinum album Unwritten, that had 2 number 1 singles on it,
She had
And
two?
She had
I
two.
thought she had one. Wow, she's doing pretty good.
I don't remember what the Unwritten was the first single and also the name of the album. I don't remember what the second one was.
So you're not a big fan of Natasha and her music.
I actually liked the song Unwritten when it came out.
It's catchy. I'll
It
give
is
you that.
catchy,
It
but
is
I
pretty
don't
catchy.
I don't remember what the other one was. The other girl that got to play was Maria Menounos, and I hope I pronounced her name correctly, but they were saying like her big claim to fame is that she was in the Fantastic Four movie. Which,
Really?
Yeah, the shitty one. Well, I guess they're all shitty.
I was gonna say, Josh.
The first one though with Chris Evans in it.
Okay.
And she recently, and at that time, and I think she's still doing it now, she was an E! News insider. Like she was one of the hosts for like the E!
I knew the name somewhere.
Network channels or whatever. Now, what's funny is I looked up what her role was in Fantastic Four.
Yeah, what was it?
She's just credited as sexy nurse.
That's so sad.
That's
actually.
it.
I'm actually really sad for her now.
Right?
Because I was trying to remember as soon as you said, I'm like, I kind of remember. It was Jessica Alba was in that. I believe. Yeah.
But it's just weird. So I just feel bad in the sense that they used that of all things to market her for the game. It's not the fact that she was in it. It's not the fact that like she played a sexy nurse in that movie. No, like, you know, she took the role, whatever she wants, right? It's the fact that they used that as like, hey, we could use this as a marketing ploy. She was in the Fantastic Four movie, but they don't tell you what she was in the Fantastic Four. She wasn't like a main character.
It makes me want to go around to movies and just be extras so I could just say that, you know, I was in this movie. Just to tell everyone.
Right.
Like, I'll put it on resumes. I don't care.
Funny story. My brother was actually in a movie. This is actually true. I'm not bullshitting about this.
Okay.
My brother was in a movie with Ice-T.
Ice-T. What movie?
It was an indie film. Now, he didn't act with Ice-T, mind you, kind of like how you're saying you're just going to go be an extra, and he was not an extra. He played the young version of the main character in a flashback for like a small scene.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The movie's called Blood Runners, so it's about vampires who during Prohibition.
Okay.
Right?
That's like that. Was it the Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Kind of.
It's a weird one.
It was interesting. I didn't hate it. I wouldn't watch it again either, though. I definitely would be one of those so bad it's good. I feel like there's some moments.
That's
in
an interesting. Yeah, I don't know how you can pull that off. That's
yeah. So he actually invited me to go to the premiere with it because it was filmed in our hometown area here.
Oh, really?
Which I will say off mic, but it's in the Philly area. And it was at the Kimmel Center in Philly.
Okay, awesome.
That's the one. That's a big. I think it was the Kimmel Center. Yeah,
everything renames itself. I can never keep track of it all.
So yeah, it was kind of crazy, but yeah, just fun fact. My brother was in that movie.
That's
Blood
actually
Runners.
really cool. There's also a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies are filmed all around this area.
The Last Airbender. Fuck that movie.
Well, Signs I think was actually filmed not far from here.
That was filmed in Bucks County.
Yeah.
Which is a county just outside of Philly.
Which was definitely not where we're located.
Actually, it's not.
Josh, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm trying to throw him off.
I mean, we're in Jersey.
Yeah, Toronto.
Just go farther north.
We're in Norway.
I was about to do an offensive accent like the Swedish chef, but he's not Norwegian. That's even worse.
Is he? Oh, he's not?
The Swedish chef.
I don't know the Swedish chef.
From the
Muppets? Literally just
pork. That guy.
I blanked on that for a second. I was like, I was thinking Norway. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm getting my countries mixed up.
So to get back to the game, I just thought it was a weird selling point to that. Like Natasha Bedingfield, I kind of get because she was huge in 2005.
She's at the point.
Totally get that. Maria Menounos didn't have that much, and what's even at least, you know what, maybe she did because I was also really young at the time, so I wouldn't have known what was going on in entertainment news. But it is still weird to me that their selling point for her was her one-off minor role in that movie, in the Fantastic Four, which is funny because both her and Natasha had one-off minor roles in this game.
They really did. They were not featured heavily at all either. Some would say they're barely in the game.
Natasha Bedingfield's character is, I wrote this down. She plays Elizabeth Stark, and she is the daughter of some rich guy.
Ned Stark.
Isn't Ned Stark? Yeah, Game of Thrones tie-in?
That would be great.
That would be fucking great.
God.
Dun, 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 dun. I want to make a video clip of that and just overlay the Game of Thrones. It wouldn't make any sense, but it'd make me
just because her last name's Stark.
Yeah, that's it. It was just funny though. So she shows up in the first mission, the cold open mission.
Yeah.
And then that's where she stays. She gets kidnapped by a bunch of bad guys. Bond rescues her, and then that's it. That's all for her story. The rest is unwritten.
Oh my God. I don't even know. I'm out of here. I'm done with this.
I was proud of that one. Not really, actually.
Gosh.
But
Yeah, it's the prologue missions. It's kind of like show you the controls. But like considering how Bond movies have like a prologue section in the movie where like you know they set up like some crazy little thing happens. It's the prologue basically to the prologue that is not in the movie at all.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It literally, I honestly think they added it in just to squeeze Natasha Bedingfield into the story.
Which is weird because I feel like they could have put her anywhere else because this game does lack characters that do anything.
They could have just thrown her in anywhere.
Yeah. Just like have her like, you got to rescue this. She's captured, I don't know. It just was a weird choice to make. It almost like it reminded me of like there's a possibility that they wanted to make a different game, like an actual like a 60s era Sean Connery game, not based off of the films, that they were going to make their own original story, but she's using that setting.
I could see that. That would make a lot of sense with how disjointed the game is compared to the movie. Like the way they tell the story in the game is a lot worse than the movie.
Oh, and it makes sense because like back in the day too, those movies, like, I mean, this is the second movie in the Bond franchise. They weren't the action-packed movies that we all know nowadays. Even today's, like, I mean, they're trying to move back a little bit with Daniel Craig's movies, but it's not the Pierce Brosnan era where like it's just explosions every 3 seconds.
I love those movies. They don't hold up to me as well, but I love those movies.
I only liked Goldeneye. I really did. Those movies are one of the weakest of the series.
Controversial opinion. My favorite Bond movie is The World Is Not Enough.
Killing me.
I know Denise Richards is not good.
No, and
she's not good, but
what was
I think it has.
Name?
What's her character's name?
Yeah.
Christmas Jones.
I wanted you to say it.
I'm not going to say the line. Actually, I probably will say the line because it's stupid. But nah, it just watch the final scene of the movie. You'll know what we're talking about if you go and watch it. But no, that movie I actually think has some of the best villains out of the entire series. Not the best. I'm not claiming them to be the best, but Elektra and Renard are really good villains. The plot's actually really well done. The dialogue is not the worst. Brosnan was given a lot of shitty dialogue in his movies.
Yeah, he was.
And he makes like the I was listening to, so this is not my original thought. I got this from the James Bonding podcast, but I kind of agree with what they were saying.
Okay, lay it on me.
They were saying how, like, if you listen to what Denise Richards says and you listen to what Pierce Brosnan says, their dialogue is equally batshit crazy, but Pierce Brosnan makes it work because he's an actor, and Denise Richards was there for eye candy.
Yep,
because her only reason she was even in there was because she did Wild Things the year before.
I thought it was because she was married to Charlie Sheen.
Was she at that time?
I don't know. I really just brought. It's my one fact I really know.
I know
about
she was
her.
married to Charlie Sheen. I didn't know if she was at the time.
After that, I have no idea what she did.
No, she was in a show called Blue Mountain State, which is funny as hell.
That's a show that everyone always told me about. And
you would
never
like
watched.
it. It's funny as hell.
I've always heard it.
It's really good.
It generally takes me about 5 to 6 years to watch a show that everyone recommends to me, and then I'll watch it and be like,
way.
Where was I when this came out?
Exactly.
Everyone gets mad at me.
I'm literally the same way because for some reason I think it's like, well, I didn't discover this, so I'm not going to watch it.
I just started.
It's a weird like pride thing, which I don't know why. It's not even that it's a conscious thing. I actually think it's subconscious.
I honestly just I forget about it. To be honest with you, I'll be doing something else. I just started How I Met Your Mother.
It's not bad.
That show has been out for so long.
Yeah.
It's like over 10, it's like 15 years that show's been on. Or it was
it's
on.
already off.
Yeah.
It's already off the air.
So I just started. I'm like, oh, this show's great.
So, all right, we got offside.
That's going to happen a lot.
I know. But that'll be okay. I like the tangents. I just want to make sure we always bring it back to the game. So we were talking about the Bond girls. And
yes.
The two new ones, Natasha Bedingfield and
Maria one's
Moon.
already gone by this point after the first mission.
Because we were talking about the cold opens, and then we were talking about the action movies and got into Pierce Brosnan, and then went from there. That's how we got. I was trying to remember how we got to Denise Richards in Blue Mountain State, and that's how we got there.
Was it 5 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Right, but of James
degrees,
Bond.
whatever.
It's like 6 degrees of bacon, 5 degrees of Bond. I don't know.
I will say the very interesting thing is I did like the first, like, I guess, real mission, not the Natasha Bedingfield one. We're actually in the maze.
Mm-hmm.
So in the movie, what happens is you see.
Well, why don't we talk about the movie first?
So you want to talk about the movie first?
So, go over the plot of the movie, and then that way we can compare it to. Or actually, let's go through the plot of the movie and see the counterpart, and then talk about the counterpart in the game. So we're going through the story chronologically, but also kind of just hopping back and forth between this is how the movie did it, this is how the game did it, this is how the movie did it, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. So in the beginning scene, the actual, I guess,
cold open
in
of
the
it.
actual movie,
not the one that didn't exist like the game has it,
where you're flying around, London. But so what happens is like you see James Bond. He's in this maze, and he's hunted. He's being hunted. He's trying to find someone. It doesn't really not make clear who's going after who.
And they don't really. It just shows Bond stalking around a maze. Like he's clearly on a mission. You just don't know for what yet.
And what happens is he there's another guy in the maze who you don't know at this time is Robert Shaw, Red Grant, and the character. And Grant shoots Bond and kills him.
Well, in the movie, he strangles him.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
In the movie, he strangles him. I think you're right. In the game, I think he shoots him.
It's hard, after
does
playing.
Does he use the choking one? Either way, he gets strangled in the movie. I forget what he does in the game, but go on.
In the game, he runs up to the house and then he opens the door, and Robert Shaw just standing there.
Oh yeah, and he just shoots him.
Yeah,
or no, is he behind him? I think and he shoots him.
He's near the door somewhere. The guy makes it to the house
Yeah.
at least, but I mean, it's a long level. You eventually start it's supposed to be like a stealth level, or we're getting to the gameplay a little bit.
That's fine. The intro scene is Bond running through a maze, and Robert Shaw, who plays a character named Red Grant. Robert Shaw, most people would know from the movie Jaws.
Yes.
Did you play Quint?
Yep,
I think.
Quint.
He's Red Grant in this, and he's the henchman of the movie, not the main villain, but one of the pretty close actually. And he sneaks up behind Bond and strangles him to death. And of course, the audience in the 60s must be freaking the hell out because, no, Bond's dead. And they take off a mask, and it's not really Bond. It's just some other guy. And then all these bright lights come on, and all of a sudden you realize this maze is in front of this giant regal mansion, and it was a training exercise the whole time. It was Red Grant trying to see if he could hunt down quote-unquote Bond.
They were hiring assassins to test his skill against. Interesting fact about the movie, though, when the actor that was originally played to be Bond's double in that looked too much like Sean Connery, so they had to get someone else in the scene.
Really?
Yeah, because they took off the mask and that looks exactly like Sean Connery, but it's not really him. So we need to get a little more. It has
to be farther apart.
Yeah, and they got someone who had a mustache to give him a little more different facial features.
I did not know. That's kind of awesome. I'm glad you know all these little fun facts about the movie. I didn't get all that.
One of my favorite movies.
It's so good.
But that's the first mission, which starts off as a stealth mission, by the way. Do you want to talk about stealth mechanics at all? Since we get
They're not bad.
They're not bad.
So you can hit a button. It's different. I played on the Xbox. You played on the game. Well,
emulated
Wii, GameCube, whatever.
Kind of thing.
On the original Xbox controller, you have the white and black buttons. You hit the black button for stealth. What is it on the GameCube?
It was the right trigger.
Really?
Yeah.
So that would make you crouch down.
So it was the Z button, which is right above that, which is the base of the shoulder button above the right trigger. It crouches you down.
Oh, that's what
and
it is.
you walk up to him and you hit the right trigger and he does a stealth takedown.
Yeah,
as long as it's behind him, obviously.
And because if you run up, he'll hear you, and then he turns around and just starts shooting.
Yeah, that was the one thing I like. Even if you walk slowly, sometimes it'll just randomly turn. The AI was a little wonky with that. I've had a couple instances where I'm I was not making a sound, and the guy just turns around and is like, "Hey, what are you doing there?" I'm like, "Ah, shit, come on!"
And then you ruin the whole element of surprise.
And I'm just shooting everyone.
And actually the shooting mechanics, they don't teach it to you in this level, but they had some really cool shooting mechanics in this. At least I thought so. But I think they added it because you can't control where you aim in this. You have a lock-on mode, almost like Ocarina of Time with the Z targeting. It's pretty much all it is. You just lock on and then you just blap blap, just keep shooting.
Bullet sponges, but then they have the special ability, which is you focus time, which gives you ability you zoom in on your target and you can move the actual reticle around to hit any part of the body, and it'll give you little zones to hit, which will give you stars, which better increase your multiplier, your score. I believe.
So it serves twofold. So the
Okay.
stars will increase your score, which you can use to buy like additional bonuses, which is actually how we bought some of the behind the scenes features on my copy of the game. It also can have you buy like concept art and like other stuff like that, which is cool.
Like different skins and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know about the skins, but I wouldn't be surprised, at least in multiplayer anyway.
They might be multiplayer skins. That's why I saw some. I was going through some of them just because they actually had like Dr. No and Goldfinger actually in there, which was I thought that was very interesting.
I mean, they did it in. That is kind of weird. They have like Arc Goldfinger, like not like Odd Job, but like Goldfinger, the villain himself. So you can buy these things with the points, but what those stars actually also do, it's not like a 1-to-1 thing, but the more you get, the more research points you get. And then you can use research points to upgrade your weapons and abilities. So,
which I thought was really cool.
You can get like armor upgrades. You can upgrade each weapon with like an ammo clip upgrade. Some of them have like a fire rate upgrade. Some of them have special ammo upgrade.
I'm just gonna go with whammon now.
Whammon. Special whammon.
Yeah, special whammon. Sounds good. It's better than ammo.
Special whammo.
I will say the one thing, because we mentioned the special ammo, the ability to not to switch that was laborious.
You have to go into the menu every time to switch the ammo from regular to special ammo. I mean, at least it pauses the game. I also like when you switch weapons, it pauses the game around it. I hate games that like don't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
If they don't do that, they have to not give you a lot of options for weapons.
Yeah, and which they didn't in this game. There's very few.
Well, I mean, you have like at least 3 different kinds of pistols, at least 3 different kinds of like secondary. Like you have 2 different like automatic weapons and a shotgun. So that's 6 right there. You also have a sniper and a rocket launcher, so that's 8. Then you also have the gadgets like the laser watch, the little helicopter. I mean, I know we're jumping ahead in terms of the mechanics, but like that's all that's there. There's a lot available to you.
It was a little surprising because you don't really use the gadgets very much.
Not
in this
really.
game.
You can kill people with a laser. Did you try that?
I didn't try that. No,
it takes forever, and you have to It has to recharge after a while, but you can kill people with the laser.
That is, makes sense if you think about it.
It's hot.
You could do it in GoldenEye.
Could you?
Yeah. You got to get right up on them. Like it has like no range, but like you can.
This thing you can like shoot it through glass, and like you could be like a mile away from the fucker, and just like as long as you can target him, you see him just kind of like twitch it there.
That's
and
pretty
then,
awesome.
You see the little aiming reticule go from green to yellow to red, and you're like, oh, he's almost dead, and then you run out of energy, but. That's where the upgrades kick in. You can upgrade the amount of battery life on your laser, so technically maybe you could just kill them in one foul swoop.
So there's a way to play this game
with just a laser.
With just a laser.
Now I don't know how long it would take to kill the big guys. You know what I'm talking about? The big heavy machine gun dudes.
Yeah, there's kind of like the sub bosses, I would say, the levels. But there's by the way really easy. Once you figure out the targeting, man,
you shoot off their armor plates and that's it.
It's 2 straps on their left and right shoulder. And you shoot those off, and then the armor plating, and you just shoot them in the chest, and they're dead. It's pretty easy, actually.
Especially with the special ammo.
Oh, yeah, they go down pretty quick.
So, to get back to the story, because we kind of jumped ahead, not in terms of story, but just in terms of the gameplay mechanics that they introduce. Like, there's a lot that it introduces to you, even towards the end of the game. Like, you get a lot of, you just start out with enemies with, like, no armor, then enemies with, like, helmets, and then enemies with armor and helmets, and then you have big like chain gun guys that have like a big plate armor thing and a helmet, and like you have to and then there what we saw at the end there on the video, because we actually played through about half of this, a little over half of this before we ran out of time, but we played easily 7 or 8 hours worth of it. Like it's not like a short game, but it's also not a long game.
It's a very padded game, I would say.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. But then there's like dudes with shields that you can almost like from Uncharted, where they hold them up with their one arm and they have a pistol in the other. So there's not a lot of variety of guys, which is weird because we just listed like 8 of them. But at the same time, like it wouldn't be as big of a deal if you didn't have to kill so fucking many of them.
I feel like I killed like a small country's worth of people. Like it's
so many of
unbelievable how many people that like it's just
and it's just these fucking Russians. No,
They're just everywhere.
there's so many of them in this game.
It's like World War II. They just keep throwing soldiers at us,
Wave after wave of our own men. It's like Stalin. That's a dark joke. I was going to say Stalingrad.
Josh, you're bringing it real
I
dark
know.
here.
But like it. I mean, the Russians are always the villain in like a lot of Bond stuff for a long time.
Well, it was during the Cold War.
It was during the Cold War. Yeah. In fact, I think that's the only country I could think of that they've really like specified like that the villains consistently come from, or like they're like consistently. Actually, James Bond took a surprisingly like neutral approach to the Russians, because you always found like what is it, General Gogol in the Roger Moore movies, like they weren't allies, but they also weren't enemies. They were just kind of like, he was his like General Gogol was like M's counterpart over in Russia. Yeah, he's like the M of Russian spies,
which plays into later movies where he actually is like I think it's The Spy Who Loved Me, which like they have their own James Bond-esque character.
Yeah, and played by her name's Anya Omasova, played by Barbara Bach, who ended up marrying Ringo Starr of the Beatles. But funny thing, did you notice that the dude who plays General Gogol is in From Russia with Love? He plays not a henchman per se, but he's a bad guy.
Oh, yeah, he's a leader of the boat squad.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm just going to call him. I don't know what the actual name is.
I don't know either.
He was leading the boat attack at the very end of the movie.
The end of the movie.
Yeah.
But you also see him in the beginning, what we were talking about in the maze scene. Like after Red Grant kills Bond, he shows up and he's there with Irma Bond, who is the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
So I guess we should kind of explain
Colonel
like what the overplot is. Wait,
Colonel Klebb.
Yeah, why did I say Irma Bunt?
I don't know.
What is she from?
Irma Bunt.
I don't know who that is.
I think Emily Blunt, because she's a singer. Josh, we might have to bust out your iPod.
I know who Emily Blunt is.
And I just said iPod, like I'm like living back in 2006.
Irma Bunt. Oh, she's she is another villain, but from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Also,
oh yeah,
she looks kind of like Rosa Klebb.
Yeah, she leads that institute where they hypnotize
that is the wrong movie. So Rosa Klebb.
There's a ton of them. It's easy to get mixed up,
right? They recycle villains a lot. Like they always have some blonde-haired, blue-eyed henchman. A lot of times, like a very just this muscular-looking dude,
like Robert Shaw.
Right, Robert Shaw was the first of them, but then you also notice there's like a nameless one I was about to say For Your Eyes Only, but no, You Only Live Twice. Yeah. There's a lot.
German guy actually.
There's a dude in at least the first one of Timothy Dalton's in. Oh my gosh, what's his first movie?
Living Daylights.
Living Daylights. Yeah, he. I can't remember his name, but he has like the milk bottle bombs or whatever. They pick like a blonde henchman in a lot of movies.
I think he was in the Swiss Alps on that one too, so that might be why.
But it's in like hell, even in Tomorrow Never Dies, the Pierce Brosnan one. Jonathan Pryce is the villain in that movie, and his like henchman is that big muscular, like he's German in that one. It's just a weird thing, and then they don't really repeat a lot of, like, that's one of the main repeat like type of archetypes that I see in Bond movies. Rosa Klebb kind of looks like Irma Bunt, but that's pretty much the last you see of it. You don't see like these red-haired short women who are also villains in like every Bond movie.
Yeah,
it's just like the blonde-haired, blue-eyed henchman you see in a lot, but not like that. But not
really. No, she's like the old woman who's like kind of like running things behind the scenes.
So the whole plot, we're kind of like going all over the place. So the whole plot of the movie is that James Bond is basically he's tasked with, he gets a letter sent to him by this woman named Tanya, and the whole premise of the movie is that she wants to meet him to give him this thing called a Lecter decoder. And a Lecter is just an encryption machine.
Encryption machine.
It's to help encrypt like broadcasts and like radio signals and stuff like that. And unbeknownst to Bond, and also unbeknownst to her, she thinks she's doing this on she's on an undercover mission by the Russian government. Turns out the big evil organization Spectre.
I thought it was Octopus.
In the game, it's Octopus.
We'll get
to that. Why that can't happen? Why it's called Octopus in the game? That's a great story there too.
Oh, great.
So Spectre is the evil organization in all the Bond movies. It's not aligned with any country. They are their own thing, and they just kind of manipulate things behind the scenes. So one of their agents, Rosa Klebb, who works within the Russian government, tricks Tanya to quote-unquote defect over to England and meet with Bond. And their goal is to basically have her take Bond to the Lecter, so that way, because the Bond and the British government think they're going to get a Lecter, Tanya thinks that she's doing something for the Russian government, when it actually turns out is that once they get that Lecter, once Tanya helps Bond get the Lecter, Rosa Klebb and Spectre are going to go in, kill both of them, make it look like a suicide, and when the defection happened, and they get the Lecter, and no one's the wiser. No one knows that Spectre even exists.
And also to create, basically, blows up, media wise, because and makes.
And that's a big thing between Russia and the UK. And so that is the whole plot of the movie. That's like the big driving point, which is actually a pretty good like plot. If you think
intricate, I would say that.
Right? Especially considering like later Bond movies, there's not that much intricacies. Like this one, I actually think this was another opinion from the James Bonding podcast, and it's not my favorite, but I actually think this is the best Bond movie.
A lot of people say that.
Like
that's
overall, like it's not my favorite, but in terms of like if I'm looking at it objectively compared to all the others, I think this is the best one.
It's one of my favorites, not the best one. But
Would you say Casino Royale?
No.
What do you think is the best one?
I actually would say Thunderball.
Really?
Yeah, I really love Thunderball.
40 minutes of just slow underwater fighting?
Yeah, they did a. You know what? I've yet to see underwater fighting done as well, like with like actual live actors and stuff like that. That was really impressive what they did, and I actually really enjoyed it. I would also give big shout out Goldfinger, always a great.
It came right before that, yeah.
But
so so that's the plot of From Russia with Love. That's the whole driving point. So Bond, in the beginning of the movie, the assassin they're going to use to kill Bond once he gets elected is Red Grant, the guy that you saw in the cold open of strangling Bond inside the maze to see if he could do it. And so Rosa Klebb meets him and decides like, yeah, you're good enough. She actually gets a pair of brass knuckles and punches him in the gut to see how tough he is. And she's like, yeah, he'll do. And then
it's probably hurt.
Probably a lot. That looked like it hurt, like from her. Like that didn't look fake when she punched him.
They probably did the real thing. Like Robert Shaw's a crazy dude. So
is he?
Yeah, he was a little nuts. So
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have shocked me if he was just like, yeah, do it. Like he was very method acting.
I could see that then. I mean, I could see that if that's what if he was a method actor, I could totally see someone doing that. Especially he was jacked. Like he was like jacked in the 60s sense where they weren't like they didn't have like washboard abs. They weren't like cut, but you could see like he was strong. Like, he was definitely formidable.
Deceptive.
Exactly. And so she recruits him. She recruits Tanya in a really awkward scene because like Ian Fleming has a weird thing where he doesn't like gay people. Like Ian,
I know, just the way you said it. I was just like
the way just Ian Fleming. This is nothing to do with like obviously us, but it's just like it's kind of weird like how much like he had a problem with it because it's never like overt, but at this like almost any time there is a gay person in his books, they're villains.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different time.
And the reason I bring all this up is because Rosa Klebb, they really heavily hint that she's like flirting with Tanya when she's like when she's like meeting her. She's like giving her the eyes. Like she's like touching her arm softly, playing with her hair. And then as soon as Tanya gives any kind of sight of like she's uncomfortable, she screams at her. Like it's a little uncomfortable of a scene.
It's weird because it really doesn't really serve the plot in any way. So it's just like
no, it's just the movies. I haven't read the books, but from what I've heard, the movies tone down that type of anger for it a lot. Because like even in I hate the name in the movie, but in Goldfinger, the love interest.
Oh yeah, you gonna say it, Josh?
I'm gonna say it. The Bond girl in Goldfinger, her name's Pussy Galore.
Ooh,
yeah,
love it.
It's just man. So like I remember when I first was getting into these, I'm like, Pussy Galore, that's weird.
It's on the nose.
It's not subtle.
If you don't get that one, you might have some issues.
So she's actually a lesbian, and Bond.
Oh yeah.
Bond forces himself on her and turns her that way.
Which I don't really think it's even covered really in the movies.
The movie, see, I remember watching the movie and I was so confused with what was happening. I'm like, why are they wrestling and kissing? It was so confusing.
Yeah.
So Bond doesn't have any of that type of relationship with Rosa Klebb, but she gives this awkward vibe out. Like it makes her sinister, but it didn't have to be that way. You know?
Can do it other ways.
I mean, like it could be a man doing the same thing. It didn't have to be her. I mean, I like the fact that they actually had like a female villain though, because they don't like, especially for only the second movie, you don't see that often at all in the Bond movies.
Yeah, you only. It's not until you only live twice, but they have kind of a sub henchman who's a woman.
Fiona Volpe. No, that's Thunderball.
That's Thunderball actually, because it came before that. That's right. Yeah,
but Fiona Volpe was that, and then there's a woman who looks almost exactly like Fiona Volpe.
I always thought
in
that was
You Only
weird.
Live Twice. So she recruits Tanya. Tanya is meant to go seduce Bond and then help him get the Lecter, and so she goes to seduce Bond, and they film it so that way to use it as like, I guess, evidence for when they make it look like a suicide later.
Yeah.
Like this is why they had this suicide thing, because they were lovers or something like that.
Evidence. We're going to need it. Back then they could just say whatever they wanted to, because there was no like real, journalistic figuring stuff out like the internet. So,
so Tanya and Bond meet, and then he his contact in, because most of this movie takes place in Istanbul. That's where he meets Tanya, and that's where the Lecter is supposedly, the Lecter decoder, and he meets his like contact there, Karen Bay, who is kind of like his mentor through the movie.
Yeah, he's a section chief of the area.
Yeah, and he's got one of my favorite lines of the movie, because it's kind of like so standoffish, but like his wife or whatever, mistress, I don't know who it is to him, is like hanging all over him, and she's like, Karen Bay, come back, like,
Bay.
And he goes, back to the salt mine.
Yeah,
which is like, is that what that is to you?
It was also very weird because his wife was extremely attractive and he looked like a dud. So I was like, man, you were.
I thought he was a handsome, like.
Do you know the story behind that character? Like the actual actor? It's really sad, actually.
No, actually.
So he actually was like terminally ill while shooting that movie. If you actually remember the scene, and we'll get to it in a little bit also when we go through the game.
Yeah.
The scene where he actually he shoots another kind of henchman with a sniper rifle. And that's the actual scene. Sean Connery, like he uses Sean Connery's shoulder to kind of steady because he hurt his arm in the movie, like not like in real life, but like in the movie as a character.
Yeah.
But the reason they also did that because Sean Connery was really holding him up physically because he was sick. He was so sick.
Really?
Yeah.
You couldn't tell at all. Like
he did a great job.
He did really good. So did he die shortly after the movie?
He powered through this movie to help provide for his family, and then sadly enough, he actually committed suicide before its release.
What?
Yeah,
dude, he was so good in this too.
Yeah, he was really sick.
We gotta take not an actual break, but we gotta look up who played him. Because like that dude, like I don't want to just know him as Karen Bay. I want to know who he was as who he
did
really
a bunch
was.
of other films. I think he did more foreign films than over here in like the Western market. But it was it's actually really sad. But he did a fantastic job on the movie.
He was portrayed by Pedro Armendariz. I'm butchering that. I know the pronunciation, but it's Armendariz. Pedro Armendariz.
Yeah.
I apologize if I'm butchering that. But that's crazy. Yeah. It's because you know how the fight in the Oh wait, no. Okay, that's the character. I got scared for a second. I was like, because it says that he died on board the Orient Express, and I'm like, please don't tell me he died in the same place his character died. But I was reading the character wiki, not his actual like bio.
It's killed by Agatha Christie.
Right. So we kind of are up to the spot where he meets Karen Bay, and he meets, and he's slept with Tanya and they're basically trying to plan out how to get the Lecter decoder. So in the game, let's kind of jump back. So we talked about the maze in the game, how they teach you stealth through that, and that type of level, like with the maze and the stealth portion, is the perfect way, in my opinion, how you're supposed to pad out a movie like when you have a movie adaptation, because
Yeah.
I understand you can't make it 1-to-1. That's just not how it's going to work.
The game would be over like in an hour.
Exactly.
So
That is like, to me, the perfect way you pad that out, because that is a level where, like, because in the movie Bond, quote unquote, obviously we learn later it's not really Bond, it's someone with a mask on, but Bond's walking around this hedge maze, and that's perfect, because like you don't know what he's doing in the movie, so they just kind of expand on that. Like, he's sneaking around, he's taking guys out. I think that's really well done.
it was fine. I had no problem with it. Like it like you said, it padded out in a way that made sense, for a game, but it's portraying an actual scene in the movie, which it does pretty well. I think it was pretty faithful to it.
But like where it starts to lose me is in the next mission. I'm pretty sure it's the next mission, because after that is you traveling to the embassy to meet Karen Bay. Like, Bond has landed in Istanbul after finding out. Actually, no, sorry. The mission in between is you walking through MI6, which is it's fine.
Fan service.
It's cool. I liked it.
It's just you see Moneypenny, and it's
you
really
see Q.
Yeah. It's just and there's like a couple funny scenes in Q's office of people misusing some of the devices. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's again.
There's actually one that opens up to a secret area. There's
really?
a dude on a jetpack, and if you keep like prodding it, he'll shoot off to the side and like ram through. I don't know if it's a jetpack, but he's on something, and it shoots off to the side and blows a hole in the wall, and there's just another room in there. Like, it looks like it's a totally normal room, but there's just no door to it.
Oh, that's weird.
It's really strange.
What's in the room?
Just some extra ammo and stuff like that. Just like, or like some extra bonus secrets and stuff like that to get more points. This is a little bit of a putting on my Bond nerd glasses for this.
Come on. I love it.
It bothered me a little bit. This is like super nitpicky, and this is actually should not be a criticism of the game, to be clear. This is just a Bond fan being unnecessarily picky.
It's just we all are. So
they had the banter between Q and Bond in that, which is fine because that's how the movies are. But that was not how it was in this movie. Q and Bond are very business-like in this movie. Like, it's the first time you see Q in a movie, first time you see Desmond Llewellyn in a Bond movie, as Q. And in this, he just shows him the briefcase of how, like, the attaché briefcase, which is one of the coolest gadgets.
It is actually
honesty.
really
I mean,
awesome.
the whole series. So Q gives him this briefcase. Like, in every Bond movie, there's a scene after the cold open, right before Bond goes on to the mission, whatever that mission may be, where Q gives him gadgets. And the gadgets always seem to magically work out perfectly for the situations in the movie. But, storytelling, whatnot.
I mean, they're fun scenes.
But in other Bond movies, a lot of the gadgets seem so specific to that scenario. Like, perfect example in Tomorrow Never Dies, when Bond has that car, right? That awesome car with missile launchers and all that other stuff. He has this thing right under the BMW like hood ornament that pops up, and it's a little wire cutter, and it's meant to cut wires perfectly. Just at that height. And magically there's
1 inch higher, the roofs of the car is going off.
Exactly. And 1 inch lower, it's going right into the engine. So it's like, but no, it gets just that height. And of course, in that movie, it's the one wire that's perfectly that height.
There's also the spikes in the later Pierce Brothers one. I'm blanking on it. The one with Madonna in it.
Die Another Day.
Yeah, the spikes in the car.
Yes.
Yeah, which is like a very,
wheels.
very specific use for that. And it's
for
like
just more traction. Like, you wouldn't use that on if it was raining outside you wouldn't use that to get more traction.
Not at all. It's literally like
that'd be so loud.
You would have to be driving on ice.
To
on the
use
off chance, how many people drive through sheets of ice?
That would hold a car nonetheless.
They had to build that into that car.
That's so crazy. But Q gives him this attaché briefcase, and it's fucking awesome. It's got like if you open the latches to the briefcase the wrong way, it explodes. And like some I think just some nerve gas type of thing, tear gas. There's a hidden like throwing knife that you can like pop out from the bottom of the side. It's like hidden on the bottom of the briefcase, but like you don't actually have to go into the briefcase. It just pops out the side. Inside there is like 10 gold sovereigns or whatever, like hidden in these strips, which I don't know what those are for except for money.
I think it's just money. Have money.
It's
like
just, but it's weird that it's hidden, I guess. But it's kind of cool that it's hidden at the same time.
I guess like emergency funds, basically.
And then they have a sniper rifle that's just all condensed inside the barrel of, or sorry, the stock of the gun. Like you open up the back of the stock and you take out like the barrel. You take out the actual pistol that it's like used for. It must be a high caliber pistol, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's basically
But you can literally just like assemble a sniper rifle out of just this tiny little thing, which is really cool.
It's really neat. They really don't do it any justice in the game, unfortunately, especially the rifle.
You don't use it. I don't think you use it at all in the game, do you?
No, I don't. It's not.
And it's one of the coolest parts of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So the nerd point that I was saying is like Bond in later movies is always joking around with Q, like antagonizing, trolling him. It's old school trolling, and before we knew what trolling was, he's just trolling Q, and Q gets so pissed off at him. And then the game, he's just like that, but that's not how it's like in the movie. So that's not a big deal at all. But part of me was just kind of like, if you're going to be faithful to the movie, like the minor things like that. But at the same time, this is also, like we said, 40 years later, so they want to be fan servicey. Yeah, so they kind of had to, I guess.
This whole game is fan servicey.
Oh yeah.
Interesting fact about Q in general. The reason they had Desmond Llewellyn actually play the character is because the last character from Dr. No, which was the first movie, Colonel Boothroyd,
yes,
actually just turned down, didn't want to come back for it.
Really?
That is the only reason Q is in the movie. And he's actually not mentioned as Q in the movie, in this one. He is in later movies. He just says he's an unnamed. He's actually credited as Colonel Boothroyd in the credits, and M just references him. And he works in Q Branch,
and he's the quartermaster. Yeah.
So. Yeah.
No,
fun
sorry.
Fact.
To add to that, do you know where the name Major Boothroyd comes from?
I do not.
So Ian Fleming, when he was writing the James Bond books, used a different pistol than the Walther PPK. I forget what he used. I don't think it was like a Magnum or something like that, but it was a different gun. And this guy, this quote unquote gun expert, wrote him a letter angrily saying like spies would never use that gun. Spies would use this gun, and it gave him all these different reasons why. It was literally like the earliest internet comment.
That's pretty cool.
And
though.
He wrote it, and the dude's name I think was Jeffrey Boothroyd, and so he named Q after Boothroyd.
That's awesome though, because he you know what, that's a great story. The guy actually went all out of his way, wrote a letter explaining very detailed. And
but the thing is, the guy claims he was an arms expert. That's why he knew that. There's not been any proof of it. So it could have just been wrong. Maybe he's right. I'm not a gun guy. Actually, if there's any people who like guns who listen to this, like write in, because I'd be curious. Like if you know anything about, like if you are good with this type of thing, is a Walther PPK better for spy work? I guess, lack of a better term.
All I know is in a kind of a more darker part of that. Walter, the actual gun owner, made a custom gun for Hitler.
Really?
James Bond's gun. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was before James Bond was written, but that's still crazy to think about.
That's just crazy how that's used, though.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yep.
Damn, that was a weird.
I know.
I don't know where to go from that.
I have some weird facts in my head.
I feel like this whole episode has been nothing but like fun facts and trivia about James Bond stuff, just sprinkled in.
The amount of knowledge I have in my head and
unnecessary knowledge.
Absolutely.
I'm not even making fun of you because you just heard me go on that Bond rant about like stupid the fucking Q thing with it's dumb. But not that part, but me like actually noticing that is dumb. Like why would I even notice that?
I mean, like if I just use some of that knowledge or that space to get better at my job, I'd be making so much more money. But no, I have it. It's full of Bond facts, and I'm gonna drop another one on you. So in this movie, they actually show like Stavro Blofeld for like a little bit, like show like his feet, I believe,
and his hand because he's petting the cat a lot.
So
that's one of the. For those who don't know, Ernst Stavro Blofeld is the iconic Bond villain from the early Bond movies. He is the leader of that evil organization, Spectre, and you don't see his face until the fifth movie in You Only Live Twice. But he always has a cat. That's where the Austin Powers Dr. Evil thing comes from. Like. Specifically, when you see his face in the fifth movie, like what you see as Dr. Evil is pretty much that guy.
And so like this is actually the first instance you actually see him because he wasn't in Doctor No.
He's not even referenced really. Like Dr. No kind of references Spectre, I think.
Yeah, it references the organization, not the character.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, the actual character of Blofeld in From Russia with Love is played by Anthony Dawson, who was Professor Dent in Doctor No.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of like the henchman in Doctor No is Ernst Stavro Blofeld in the second movie.
Yep.
But you only see his hands and feet.
The character, like the actor.
Yeah. But that's still cool though.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty interesting one.
That is really cool. I guess in speaking of Spectre, though, we should talk about this now.
Oh, we want to go into it? Because this is going to be a deep dive.
This is going to be a deep dive. I hope you all are enjoying this because I fucking love talking about James Bond.
I hope you love James Bond because it's all about James Bond.
I mean, this is just a lot of like fun, like I don't know. It's fascinating. So we'll boil down. Let's boil it down because if we go into all the weeds with it, it's going to bore the shit out of everyone.
A whole podcast,
on
about
just this
issue.
topic. So. Spectre is the main evil organization in the James Bond universe, at least for the first half of not the first half, but the first like 6 or 7 films.
Yeah, about that.
Give or take a little bit. Probably actually 6. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I think the 7th was Live and Let Die. That was Roger Moore.
Yeah.
And that wasn't in. Oh my God, I'm getting too geeky with this. So, so Spectre is the evil organization. Now, Spectre did not come in the books until the book Thunderball. That was the first time I believe it was written into the books. And Ian Fleming co-wrote that book with this dude named Kevin McClory.
Yep.
All right. I'll let you pick it up a little bit here too. If I caught you off guard, just let me know.
So they wrote the book to like, well, that's kind of the controversy, like who gets rights of what, because they came up with it together. So then they made they started making the James Bond movies using the organization, Spectre, basically, and Blofeld being a character in Spectre, and eventually McClory. Am I saying his name right?
McClory, Kevin McClory.
Basically, he wanted his cut after a little bit. Like he was like the sole. He claimed that it was all his idea
to create Spectre and to create Blofeld.
So that was like his ideas, and it created a huge legal battle between Ian Fleming and McClory.
And even though Ian Fleming had died, I think he saw the first 2 movies. He didn't get to see Goldfinger.
Yeah. This was the last movie he actually got to see, was From Russia with Love.
Yeah. And so he got to see... So Ian Fleming, the author of the original books, did get to see a couple Bond movies. But even after he died, the McClory estate was constantly in legal battle with the Broccoli's, the Broccoli's are the producers of the Bond movies. Yeah. Or with the... Basically, we'll just say the James Bond company, so that way we don't confuse people with the James Bond company. Constantly in battle. So that's why at the 6th movie is pretty much the last time for a long time you see any hint of Spectre. There's like a couple subtle things that they put in specifically in For Your Eyes Only in the cold open of that, but they don't mention it directly. Like they kill off Blofeld in For Your Eyes Only in the cold open. It's the helicopter thing where they drop him into the smokestack.
That was from. I thought
it's stupid as hell, but they don't mention it. They don't reference him as Blofeld, but everyone knows because of like the way the cat and
looks like Dr. Evil.
Exactly. So it caused this whole legal battle that they couldn't resolve. It actually was not resolved up until earlier this decade in like 2013 or 14, which is why the movie Spectre came out in 2015, the most recent Bond movie.
Which was
most recent as of now. No, it was not.
But by that time, McClory was already dead.
Yeah.
So it's literally just the estates fighting each other for
rights to this, just so that way they could get a lot of money. Now, what's crazy, I don't know if you knew this. So, I mean, you might know at least the first part of this. So, in 1983, the James Bond movie that came out with another awful word, Octopussy, that was the James Bond movie that came out. There was another James Bond movie that came out, but it was not a canon one.
Nope.
Sean Connery was brought back, and there is basically a ruling in the case that because Kevin McClory helped create Spectre, and they ruled that McClory did actually create Spectre and Ernst Stavro Blofeld, and because he created it, the James Bond company could not use it anymore, but he could use anything from that movie, anything from that in that game or anything from that story. So he was allowed to make his own James Bond movie called James Bond and everything, 007, all that stuff.
Never Say Never Again, I believe.
Never Say Never Again. And that came out in 1983. And apparently they were going to try to spin it off into a series.
I believe it.
But the thing is, though, they were only allowed to use assets from that one story. So technically they would have just been remaking that same story over and over and over again, because they couldn't use James Bond on anything outside of that type of story, which is so weird.
Also, another fun fact about that movie, also Bond girl was Kim Basinger, and directed by Irving Kershner, who directed Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. I love that. I've been referencing them a lot, but the James Bonding podcast is one of my favorite, and the one host, Matt Gorley, does a really good Irving Kershner impression. Well, I shouldn't say it's good, but it's funny. He goes like, directing, I'm a director. He kind of talks like that a lot, and
it was. I read a
we're gonna go to the Hoth planet with a wampa, and then we go to a swamp. Like it's like
I read a whole thing about his experience doing Empire, and he did not really enjoy it that much.
Really?
No,
That's
it's
crazy.
Just big budget film and sci-fi, and you're shooting in different sequences, or you're just like hoping and praying to God that it comes together at the end, basically.
That's but so because of all these legal battles, we actually took a short version of that, believe it or not, for those who like
much longer.
There's a lot more to it. But because of all those legal battles, when this game was being made, those legal battles weren't done yet, so they couldn't call it Spectre in this game. That's why, and the Spectre's logo is an octopus, because it's supposed to be like they're far-reaching. They have like their tentacles and everything, I guess. Yeah. And so that's why the main villain organization in this game is not called Spectre. Rosa Klebb in this game does not work for Spectre. She works for Octopus, which is a dumb fucking name for an evil organization.
They could have come up with something a little more intimidating, I would say.
Right?
Instead of symbolic.
Octopus, like it just, and the movies tried to do that with Quantum, which was a cool name for an evil organization. I mean, it didn't work out great in the movie, but
the story wasn't that good in that movie, unfortunately.
But no, so Rosa Klebb hires Red Grant to work for Octopus, not Spectre, Octopus, because legalities are stupid.
Which make it even more interesting, the fact that this game was made, considering the legal issues behind it.
I mean, I guess they could do everything, but notice how they didn't mention Ernst Stavro Blofeld once in this game,
true.
Even though
they couldn't.
They couldn't. You're right.
That's why he's not in there. He's like, it's just, and it does take away, because Kronsky is not in there. I believe I'm saying it. Kronstein. That's it.
Kronstein. He's the guy he's actually the mastermind of the whole plan, even though you only see him twice in the whole movie and never at all in the game. Yeah. And Rosa Klebb is just tasked with, all right, this is your plan. I'm going to find the henchmen to take out your plan, which
I believe she just comes up with the plan just standing out. Like I think it's in the very first, it's the hedge maze, and I'm talking about the game. In the hedge maze level, she just walks out and she's like, oh, this is our plan right here. And it kind of just goes from there. And there's no real backstory of why, which is unfortunate because, I mean, it would make the game a little more cohesive if there was a...
And it probably would have made our podcast a little more cohesive. I feel like we've been jumping around so much.
I mean, it's hard. We're playing a game that was very all over the place. So I think we're living up to the expectations.
If anyone who's listening to this understands this, I want you to send out reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram. Still Loading Pod on Twitter and Instagram, at Know Geeks Allowed on Instagram, at KGA Podcast, I think, on Twitter, I think that's the difference.
Just do Instagram.
Just do Instagram. Hashtag Octopus yes. If you understand everything we just did, do hashtag Octopus yes. If you don't, just don't do anything. Just hashtag Octopus yes.
Tell us no.
But in the movie, there's actually, I guess in the next couple scenes, we said, we talked about the plot, about trying to get the Lecter. Spectre's trying to get the Lecter by framing Bond and Tanya and causing war between the two governments. And so Tanya meets Bond. She seduces him. They film it for evidence for later on. And the next thing, is them after there's in the movie, Red Grant kills a Russian like worker or like a Russian soldier type of thing.
Yeah, he's Bulgarian. It's basically what happens is like Red Grant is trying to help Bond because he wants him to succeed to get the Lecter to like start their plan. So he's kind of tailing him, even though he's against him, obviously.
Yeah, he wants to kill him later on, but he needs him right now.
Yeah, he's stopping anyone getting in his way, and in Istanbul, it's kind of like a hotbed, a lot of tensions. There's the Bulgarians, the Russians,
and the English as well.
Yeah. There's like so it's very everyone follows each other around and spying on each other. So
I think the Bulgarians work for the Russians.
I think so. Yeah, that's sort of the one in that region.
And so, but he kills one,
and
then goes into like this Russian or this English because he looks English. He doesn't look like anything else. So because of that, they think it's the English. They think it's the British, and so they start retaliating. But it kind of seems odd, and so Bond's going to the embassy, and the embassy gets bombed in retaliation for that. So it's like you can see they're trying to start this war. Thankfully, Karen Bay, the section chief, is like, that seems weird. Like they wouldn't just go out and break our peace treaty now. Like that seems so out of the norm for them. And so, like, a wise section chief doesn't just jump to conclusions. In the game, you get shot at by a shitload of Russians, and my least favorite, like, there's all these car chasing segments where you're just driving around with machine guns on your car, and you're just blowing cars up on the streets of Istanbul.
It might as well be like Twisted Metal.
Yeah. Specifically, the one car tries to run you off the road, and it's and you can't dodge it.
Nope.
You have to brake and let it go forward, but by that time, it's already gone past you and you can't hit it. You can't aim. It's so hard to aim with the car.
The controls were not great for that car.
No.
They were pretty terrible.
There's this game, actually, I will say, the gameplay overall for this was actually a ton of fun, but there's a lot of difficulty spikes, and the car levels are almost always those difficulty spikes.
It's a shame, too, because this is actually the same studio that makes Burnout.
Does it?
Yeah. It's actually an interesting little backstory. I know we're going to go on a slight little tangent. The studio that made this game became Visceral Games that made
Dead Space. Yep. And then they're gone now.
They were also before that, their big claim to fame was they made all the Tiger Woods golf games. And then the Burnout was also like...
Burnout's a popular series, but Tiger Woods golf games?
Yeah.
I guess someone likes them.
I actually enjoyed those games.
I guess you like them. I don't like golf. The idea of a golf game doesn't appeal to me, though. Relaxing. I do like NES golf a lot, both on the NES, and I also like Wii Sports golf a lot. That's a lot of fun.
I like playing golf now. I'm a golf guy.
You're a golf guy now?
Yeah. I'm just falling into that old man stuff.
I realized. Never mind. It was the story had nothing to do with this. We're just gonna. I'm not gonna break into a tangent here.
But yeah, like so like this studio has some pedigree a little bit.
Yeah.
But actually, you know what? I think I got that wrong. I don't think they made Burnout.
Oh my god.
Josh, I'm here to just ruin your podcast. Did you not know that?
I talk about video game history, and I'm gonna have to look it up now.
While you're doing that though, there is a little bit of history about when this game came out.
Okay.
That I wanted to share with you. I've been dying to tell you this.
Criterion, I'm pretty sure, made the Burnout series. Criterion Software.
It is not the same. So
no.
Again, me in my usual fashion, just being wrong about things, but I'm not wrong about this one because I thought this was great.
Yeah.
So when this game came out it was in November of 2005.
Going back to that time space, I'm putting there Tasha Benningfield having that hit single, Maria Menounos being a sexy nurse in Fantastic Four. I'm right there. I'm ready for it. So hit me.
2005 was a big time for games. And November 1st was the launch of the PS2 version. I believe the 15th was the GameCube and
wow, you actually know the dates. Oh shit.
Yeah, it's important because I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
So in November, I believe on the 7th was the release of the first Guitar Hero game.
Okay.
Which is a massive series.
I mean, it's not so much anymore, but it was massive for like a solid 10 years.
That was
Guitar Hero was huge. Yeah.
On November 15th, the same day that it was released for the GameCube and I believe the Xbox, Half-Life 2 came out. The same day.
Yeah, this got buried pretty fast.
And then later that month was Call of Duty 2.
Wasn't God of War also out in 05?
It was 05. It wasn't. It might have been. There was also a bunch of games released in October.
damn, 2005 was a good year.
It was a killer year. God of War. Actually, you know what? I have it up on my phone. If you give me a second.
While you're looking that up, that's crazy though. Like that's just nuts to think that they had that. Like I'm not surprised this game got buried because I remember like seeing it at like a thrift store like a couple of years ago. I'm like, they made a From Russia With Love video game.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it just came and went and no one ever knew about it.
Well, here's another one just at the top of the list because on PlayStation 2 and GameCube, is PlayStation 2 on October 25th. Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Critically acclaimed game.
Wait, was that the PlayStation 2 port on in 2005 or?
Yeah, I think it came out
I know it was originally a GameCube exclusive, Resident Evil 4.
It was it was the later date. It was January 11th was the GameCube version. So this was the
the GameCube version for Resident Evil 4 that should have been the first one. It was an exclusive.
Yeah, it was January. So October was the PS2.
It was only a GameCube exclusive for like 10 months?
Apparently, according to Wikipedia here.
What?
But I'm not done yet, though. I'm not done. San Andreas came out in June.
Jesus Christ.
Not as popular game, but still.
San Andreas has a big following.
I was going to say this next game. I'm sorry. I was talking about the next one.
I was going to say, I'm like, what do you mean that's not a big following? San Andreas is
insanely huge. Shadow of the Colossus was October 18th.
Oh my god!
Which I don't know if it's sold that well.
I don't know. I mean, it's renowned. It's like well known now. So who knows how? I don't know how it was back then. I was also not really paying that much attention to game releases in 2005.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I was in high school, but still, like I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
I think I was in middle school.
How much? 2005.
I went to a weird school. We only had 3 years of high school, so.
Technically, we did too. Well, no, we had 4 years, but 2005, I graduated from high school in 2007, so I would have been. I'm trying to think now.
Josh, come on, buddy.
What? In 2005, I would have been like 16.
There you go.
I would have been 16.
So if you're up on the game releases,
I was not when I was not back then. Also, like I didn't. My family, it's so weird. Like this is not going down one of those I'm old tangents, but it could lead there if I let it. We didn't really have fast internet back in 2005. I didn't get like good internet till like later on. We had dial-up for so long, and it was such a pain in the ass to get on. We didn't get DSL until like later on.
Oh, I never even had DSL. I remember LimeWire and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I used dial-up.
Did you have dial-up? Yeah. But anyway, so did you find what you're looking for?
Oh, there's a couple more here.
Oh, geez. Oh,
Doom 3.
Oh, my God.
In April 3rd. Oh, that's extra Xbox, but I don't know if that's a...
whatever. It's still like Doom is still a big game.
So, Fear.
That was a good game. I love the first Fear game.
It was Vivendi. Let's see here. Tekken 5 for PS2.
All right.
The fighting game.
I don't know where that stands in the rest of the series because I'm not a fighting game fan, but I know I'd have to. Casey, who's been on the podcast a bunch of times, he's a huge Tekken fan. Yeah, he would know what the standing of that game is in the community.
The third biggest one, like Mortal Kombat and obviously Street Fighter. I mean,
well, I know I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about within the community itself. What is the reception of Tekken 5 amongst the Tekken community?
I hate fighting games.
I'm awful at them.
I'm terrible. And also, the last one is a big one for PC gamers in April 26th, Guild Wars.
Yeah? I thought you were going to say Portal.
No, I think it came a little later. Yeah, because Half-Life 2 just came out.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, the game came out to pretty much not. It just got buried.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Buried. There's not and the game overall is kind of mediocre. Yeah. It's just average. It's fun. I'm not gonna lie about that, but it's kind of. It's just average.
It's a corridor shooter, sadly enough.
Yeah. And the game, so the game follows the movie pretty well. So far we're up to the Russian embassy getting bombed, or not the Russian. I'm sorry, the British embassy getting bombed.
Yeah.
And this leads to actually my favorite scene in the whole movie. Is when Karen Bay, the smart section chief, decides that I'm not going to retaliate because this doesn't seem like my Russian ally, not allies, but this doesn't seem like the Russians. They wouldn't just break the ceasefire. So he has this secret underground passageway to a periscope that somehow magically jumps into the Russians' meeting room.
Yeah.
That somehow they don't notice at all. Like, he explains away how it got there, which is pretty convincing. Like, it was like he went under the guise under construction. They had it secretly installed, like whatever. But how do they not notice the periscope like rising and like falling?
Oh, it's pretty obvious. And also, how do they get audio?
They didn't in the game. They had audio
in the game.
In the movie, they didn't.
That's right.
They actually played it. They actually played it straight. Like, there was just enough suspension of disbelief. You're like, and actually in the game, the periscope is up above them, so you're looking down. Like, that means it's rising up at least 10 feet into the air, so you can look down on these guys sitting on a table. In the movie, it's on the floor. Like, you're looking up at them, like from the floor up. So like, you could theoretically hide it if you put it like right underneath a cabinet or something like that. I bet you could do that.
You should have just made like a little like hole in the wall and basically used like a periscope like that instead of something that rises up. It just opens the little so you can see what's in the room.
So the reason it's my favorite scene though is the cinematography in that scene is just so gorgeous. Like, you see really Bond and Karen Bay walking down the steps to this boat, and it's in this like waterway. Like, it was apparently built. They explained in the movie that it was built by Constantine to essentially for a water supply.
Mm-hmm.
And so they take this boat across it, and it's just these beautiful old arches, like these giant stone arches that they're sailing through. They're like idling through.
Which you see a lot of in the game.
Yeah, a lot of in the game, because after you spy on it, some shit happens. And Bond's like, here, you leave. I'll find another way out. And you have to fight your way out of these catacombs.
Why I don't know why you just go with them. But I mean, that's just it's video game logic. So
the game adds so much to this movie by taking away, if that makes sense. They add so much padding in terms of the story which there's not much story.
So you're literally in that level. You're in a jetpack in an underground cavern,
just blowing shit up.
Yeah, just shooting hundreds of people and shooting at other jetpack people around. Not a very hidden underground cabin.
You were not lying when you said you probably killed a small country in this game. There's so many villains. There's so many enemies.
It gets so much worse later in the game.
So yeah, you escape that way. I just, in general, like, the plot of the game is all over the place. Like, they mix up a lot of stuff from the movie, and it didn't bother me that they mix up stuff like that, but it bothered me because there was no need to. Like, you could have told the story of the movie through the game in the exact same way as the movie and still kept all your padding and not change things up at all. Like,
they could have made a little more stealth game instead of just going straight action. That's what I think.
All the time.
Because like what I was going to mention like in the beginning of the podcast is like this movie. It's not. I mean, there's action in this movie, but back then, like that wasn't a selling point. It was very much like spy, like
locations. It was exotic locations because people didn't travel as much as they do now.
You want to see like spy stuff. Like, you're not getting caught. Like, he's doing like sneaking around. Like, that was the appeal of those movies back then. The newer modern ones. Yeah, again, it's like more explosions, more gunfights. Back then, like, that really didn't happen as much.
Yeah.
So that's why I felt this movie was a very interesting choice to make that into a game, because I'm like, I don't think this really translates that well.
Yeah, you're right. I especially like like, to put it in perspective, in those old Bond movies, like in the modern stuff, when you will hear the James Bond theme when some action scene is going on, Bond's like, I'm thinking specifically in like Tomorrow Never Dies, he's escaping from the newspaper plant.
Yeah.
And he like jumps on a cart and like rides it out while machine guns are blazing. You hear the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Which is like a video game-esque thing.
It's a really great, it's a really fun scene to watch. In this movie, and From Russia with Love, he's walking through his hotel room going
full volume,
like blaring,
just checking to see all the spy devices in the room. That's all he's doing.
Which would have been so much more effective if it was just quiet. Just let the, like, because by that music playing, you're immediately put at ease. Like, oh, he's not going to find anything in here, which he does, but like, it doesn't seem serious at all. When if you're trying to be a tense spy thriller, that should be serious. Like, you don't know who's listening to you.
I think his whole thing is like he's so good at being a spy. He knows where all this stuff is.
Yeah.
And he's like, give me another room. I thought it was cool, to be honest with you, because it's like he just so.
I thought it was unnecessary music cue, but I like the scene. The scene is totally not like I love the scene. I'm not talking about that. The music in it was kind of like not appropriate. Like it just didn't match.
It does.
It didn't match the tone.
Intense for a walking through a room scene.
One of the times that you hear it in Dr. No is he's just walking through the airport.
Yeah. Oh, it's so catchy though.
I know, right? It's Vic Flick, man.
Well, they were still trying to figure that out the first movie. So
oh yeah, I don't blame the first movie. I give a pass to it. But they spy on the Russians to find out what they're doing and realize the Russians are not a part of this. Or they realize the Russians probably have nothing to do with this. In the movie, in the game, they actually make it be one of the Russians, like, or one of the guys trying to kill Karen Bay.
It's Krylenko, which is a Bulgarian hired hitman, is like basically saying like, hey, they're attacking us. We got to go attack and just kill all of them.
Yeah, and that's when they go to the gypsy camp.
Yeah, and so they're like
in the movie. The Bond goes to the gypsy camp to escape, to like kind of get away from the Russian attacks, lay low for a little while. In the game, they go to Russian camps because for some reason the Bulgarians like, we're going to go kill these gypsies.
Oh yeah, that was weird because
there's no reason for it.
These gypsies, we know where they are. Let's just go kill the gypsies. I'm like, what the hell did they do to you, man? Come on.
There's nothing to. In the movie, it makes sense because they track them to the bad guys. Track Bond and Karen Bay to the gypsy camp,
which is they're just friends. They're not. It doesn't seem like even in the movie they have any skin in the fight. They're just friends with the section chief Karen Bay.
Yeah, and he's friends with the gypsy leader.
He's not like he's doing anything. He's just like, hey, we're just friends. We hang out here. They're like, yeah, sure, why not?
And Bond stops a fight between two women fighting over a man, which is actually a really violent fight.
It is. And interesting enough, one of the women in that fight is in the beginning of Thunderball. She's James Bond's co-worker when she goes to Nassau in the boat. Oh. And she's actually the one that she dies later because she gets captured.
Huh.
That's actually the same actress.
That's crazy. That's actually from Russia with Love also, I'm just thinking of repeat actresses, is the only time you've ever seen a Bond girl carry over from movie to movie.
Yeah.
The Bond girl in the Dr. No is Sylvia Trench, which if you listen to the James Bonding podcast, you'll know that's surprisingly probably the most dirty yet not dirty double entendre for a Bond girl name. Think about that.
Think about it a little bit. But
it's pretty bad.
Not the worst, but
not the worst. But so she shows up as Bond's girl from the beginning of this movie, which I thought was like kind of cool. Though they may do that, they may actually break that for the first time in a long time with this upcoming movie, because Bond, like at the end of Spectre, Bond walks away with I can't think of the character's name, but the Bond girl in the movie, I can't think of her name.
I honestly don't remember because that movie is so forgettable.
The movie was not good. But basically, they walk off into the sunset like Bond's leaving MI6 because he wants to go live with her, Madeline Swan. That's her name. That's the character's name. The actress's name, Leah Seydoux. I can't pronounce. I'm amazed. I'm remembering this now. I think
sounds
so.
French.
But so it very heavily implies that she's coming back in this next movie.
That would be really neat to see.
Because he drives off with her like he's leaving, kind of like what he couldn't do with Vesper in Casino Royale, he's going to get to do with Madeline Swan.
Well, another interesting thing also, too, and from Rush with Love, in that same scene with Sylvia Trench, is they kind of reference, make a little bit of a reference of what happened at the end of Dr. No, when they said, like, oh, where did you get that scar? And it was like, jealous lover or something like that. It's like, was that like implied that it was Honey did that to him, the Bond girl from the original movie?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I've always thought that because I'm like, it's a weird scene where it's like
they focus a lot on that
because they not only does she mention it, then they do a close up of the scar, and you're like, what? This is only the second movie in this. So
it's not like there's continuity that they have to worry about just yet.
And it's
kind of.
And then she asks, like, is that a jealous lover? And then I'm like, maybe he did something.
That's so weird. I mean, it's Bond. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a womanizer.
And she had that knife.
She did, because she did have that knife. Okay. So we're up to I guess to recap, because we've been all over the place. To recap to what we are now. Spectre trying to pit Russian, British against each other. to do that, they get a Russian woman and they get Bond to try to get the Lecter because she thinks she's undercover. He thinks she's defecting over to the British. They're going to get the Lecter. Spectre's going to kill them. They have gotten up to the point where he's met with Tanya, or no, he hasn't even met with Tanya yet. Technically, in the movie, just yet.
No, yeah, he meets her when he comes back from the gypsy.
He meets her when he comes back from the gypsy camp. In the game, I'm pretty sure he's already met her because they meet her pretty soon on. But when he comes back from the gypsy camp after helping Karen Bay take out the bad guy in that was a really cool scene too, where he's escaping out the side building.
Oh yeah,
that was a cool scene.
The
mission in the game is fucking bullshit.
It's really stupid.
So in the movie, the attack on the gypsy camp, that mission in the game isn't that much fun either. But
I thought it was at least interesting. It's basically you run around the camp defending Karen Bay. It was like
and then
waves
also
of enemy trying to
I hated that final part though.
And I lost a lot of health with the dumb tear gas because I forgot to put on my.
Yeah,
I almost died.
So in the gypsy camp where they're going to lie low after all the Russian attacks, it gets attacked. In the movie, they fight him off and. Karen Bay gets shot in the shoulder, and so he knows where the guy who led the attack is. So Bond and him go separately to go do it. Karen Bay props the gun up on Bond's arm or on Bond's shoulder. Sees the dude escaping from this really cool looking it's
a Bob Hope
Bob Hope like poster, but it's not a poster. It's painted on the side of a building. It's a huge ad,
and the window's is actually her mouth.
Yep,
crawls out of it,
and then he shoots him there as he's crawling down. In the game though, it's a whole thing where you have to sneak through the town to get up to a sniper post, and then you have to protect Karen Bay while he's going up to a spot to kill the guy that he sniped in the movie. And when he gets up, and it's hard as shit because there's a lot of guys, like you're just sniping everywhere. Thankfully they give you unlimited sniper ammo, but you still have to keep running over to pick it up.
Which is really annoying.
And then when Karen Bay finally gets to the top where that bad guy is at, he gets captured anyway, and you have to shoot the dude. Yep. So the whole thing was for fucking nothing.
Nope.
You had to do the whole thing the whole time anyway. Why not? Yeah. In the beginning of the mission, Bond's like, "I'll go handle this," and Karen Bay's like, "No, I need to do it myself."
Yeah, it was just it's so lame. I'll be honest with you.
The mission. So I guess because we're kind of painting a lot of this as bad. Like, don't get me wrong, it's bad. But the weird thing is the gameplay is surprisingly fun. It's just the reason for the missions is fucking stupid.
It's what they try to make a game or a movie that was not as heavy on the action
into a full game,
into a full corridor shooting action game. So it's
all right, let's jump ahead a little bit then. So they do end up getting the Lecter, which those missions are cool in the game. They're actually pretty decent.
They basically, they put a bomb on the consulate, and James Bond runs in, steals a Lecter in the movie.
And he uses the distraction of the bomb and the chaos of it. He steals a Lecter with Tanya. In the game, you're just running and gunning through the whole thing.
You run through the entire thing, just shooting every single person in the world.
Everyone. And then, but in the game afterwards, after you have the Lecter, in both the game and the movie, they then get on a train so they can go back to the British. In the movie, that's where Red Grant, the assassin who was hired by Spectre to take it from them after they get it, and follows them the whole movie to keep Bond protected so he can get it. That's where he's going to make his move, both in the game and in the movie. Now, in the movie, which has one of the most iconic fight scenes in the history of cinema, I'm not just Bond, cinema.
It's a whole train scene in the movie is amazing. As soon as they get on the train to get off the train, it's fantastic.
The movie picks up a lot there.
Oh yeah.
Now this is a cool little fun fact. That was one of the first fight scenes to ever cut on action. This is a little tech geeky, I guess, but in almost every other action movie, the camera would just be a still frame, and you just see two people punching each other. That's exciting when you have people who actually know how to fight, like Jackie Chan, and that's why if you ever see good martial arts movies, they don't do a lot of fast editing. They just have still frames, and you can see the choreography play out in front of you. In these old movies, they didn't do that. They didn't have the same level of choreography. Granted, Jackie also had a bunch more years of experience by that point, but still,
pretty amazing at it. So,
but still. they didn't really do something like that. But in James Bond, I think Peter Hunt was the editor because he then directed a later movie.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
He like a lot of times they would just have a shot. So when you see they would just be one single shot. So when you see someone getting punched, you would see the guy winding up, throwing the punch, and then punching. In this, they would actually cut before the punch would hit and get to a different angle to show the impact of the hit or something like that. And it's apparent, like the fight scene in the train is really intense, something that you would never have seen in 1963. So Red Grant, we're going to kind of paraphrase it because it's a lot to get. It would be a lot to explain to get how they get to the fight. But essentially, Red Grant kills Karen Bay on the train, which is sucks because Karen Bay is an awesome character.
Yeah,
and he confronts Bond in the car under the guise that he's like one of the other secret agents.
He's a British agent, and basically he's there to help Bond.
Exactly. Tanya gets knocked out by some drugs.
Yeah.
Like they drug or drink and she gets knocked out. Bond catches it so he doesn't get knocked out. Actually, I don't think he even drugged him. I don't think he drugged Bond.
He basically goes to the impression he's like, or what in the movie, like Grant basically says like, are you after the Lecter or are you after the girl? It's like he knows he drugged him, and Bond saw him. He's like, yeah, we're here to do a mission. We can't take the girl with us, obviously. Come on.
Yeah.
So that's why he didn't try to drug Bond. He knew what he was doing.
Okay.
So I always thought the explanation.
Oh yeah, that was
good.
a good explanation. Yeah, because he's like he's playing. But what was weird about that scene is that he plays it off as like, no, I drugged her because like we're here for the Lecter, not for the girl. And Bond's like, okay, so you're focused on the mission. That's fair enough. But then in less than a second, he betrays him anyway. So what was the point of like giving him that ruse if he was just going to pull the gun on him anyway?
I think he was trying to give him a more like.
In a more defensive,
susceptible position.
That would make sense. So then he turns on Bond, and that's where the fight ensues. And it's in this tiny closed encounter. That's what makes it so good because it's in this tiny train cabin, and they're like breaking off doors and like going into light bulbs and everything. And like he tries to strangle Bond like he does in the beginning of the movie in the training sequence, but Bond turns it around and strangles him. It's just this really good, intense fight scene. And then the game happens.
Oof. This is the most disappointing. I hated this.
Go for it.
Because
Rip it.
This was like I was relatively enjoying the game up to this point because it was fun. It's fun. It's just a game.
Yeah.
And it's like nostalgia trip, fan service. So you get to this point and like they kind of go through a little bit of dialogue. You're sitting on the train, and all of a sudden, Grant just pulls the gun on Bond. He's like. Basically, like
not even in the cabin. He's in the dining car.
Like 2 seconds on the train, he's like already like, all right, I'm working for Octopus.
Octopus.
Yeah, you almost said Spectre. It's not Spectre. I'm working for Octopus.
It's not Spectre.
We're taking
Octopus.
the Lecter.
Octopus.
And then they start fighting, which in the game though it's actually choreographed pretty well. They fight, and
but you're not controlling any of it.
None at all. No quick time or anything like that. You're just watching it. Again, it looks pretty cool though. I mean, but then after that fight. It's then the action sequence where you take control.
Bond gets the best of him. He gets the gun and points it at Red Grant. And then right next to Grant is this huge hulking dude with a minigun just standing there. Just appears out of fucking nowhere.
Like he was there the whole time. And all of a sudden you're in control of Bond and you're like, it becomes, in your this one train car, people like just dudes are just jumping through the windows, coming through the doors, and it's just like it's a horde mode of like the levels, just like kill as many as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And then at the end, after you do, Grant just like knocks you out, like he tries to kill you,
and he just knocks you and Tanya out.
And
which is where Maria Menounos shows up. Not for the first time. You see her in a cutscene prior to that, but that's the first time like she actually interacts with Bond.
Yeah, we didn't forget about her. No, she really is not in this game.
Both of the new quote unquote Bond girls were really not in this game.
No, she is just completely like background filler.
And what's funny, we didn't even talk about one of the biggest things. So this is a Sean Connery Bond movie. Sean Connery actually came back and voiced Bond for this game.
That's a huge thing.
And that's his first time playing Bond in any capacity since the 1983 Never Say Never Again non-canon film.
Which was not great. So.
No. It was just a rehash. And that even at that point, that would have been 22 years prior.
Yeah,
because it came out in 83 and this came out in 05.
And guess what? He sounds like an old man.
You can tell it's not Sean Connery James Bond because he has his lisp. He has his stay a while, like Spectre.
Yeah.
Like it's he has like that Sean Connery voice that everyone does now. If you go back and watch the Bond movies, he doesn't really have it that strong. Like it's there, but you don't hear the sound.
Sounds like a young guy. He really just
because
he was back then.
But you can tell, like it's painfully obvious. It is not like that is not the same voice, but it's the same person. But at the same time, I love that they did that because I love that they got Connery back to do that.
A little more authentic, even though it kind of sounds
even
like
if
shit.
the voice acting was bad, I don't necessarily blame him because none of the voice acting was good in the game.
Nope.
Actually, Natasha Bedingfield was decent.
She tried. She went for it.
She went.
And
she
I give
went
her props for that.
She actually, I didn't think she was awful. She actually seemed convincing. Maria Menounos was not good.
No. And she only had like a handful of lines. In the
and
movie.
And once again,
game,
I don't blame her. I actually think just whoever was their director for voice acting did not do a good job.
Well, these people also probably have no experience doing voiceovers.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I know Connery. I don't think he said it was his first game. So I'm assuming.
I'm pretty sure it was his only one too.
I mean, after this, that's not shocking.
So I keep going. I'm going to look that up to see if he did any others.
So what I was going to say, if you want to continue on to the train level, it's just a corridor shooter. And after the Maria Menounos comes in. I'm going to say her name wrong constantly. I'm terrible with names.
It's all good.
But she comes in, Red Grant, and they're like staring at me with a gun. They're like, and they just take the lectern and just leave. They don't even kill you. And then the next mission is just you getting off the train, which has already stopped, and you're shooting a bunch of people then in the train station. Which, it just, again, like plot holes galore. Even like the movie has plot holes, but this one is like just taking it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, sorry, just not to cut you off. That was the only time he's ever done a voice for a game. It was with From Russia with Love, because his next credit after that. So his last movie that he actually acted live in was 2003's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Then 2 years later was From Russia with Love, which he just did the voice in, and then he did one more role as a voice, and the movie is called Sir Billy.
Ew.
And it's a retired veterinarian living in a remote Scottish village encounters a goat who thinks he's a dog, an admiral who's afraid of the water, and a beaver who's raised by rabbits.
Oh my God, Sean. Isn't he knighted too? Isn't he Sir Sean Connery?
I'm pretty sure he is. Oh my God.
That just bummed me out. I'm a little sad now. I'm a little sad that I just heard that. That's so disappointing.
The best part is there's a picture of IMDb of him having a good time doing the voiceover.
He looks like
to him.
He's having fun. I mean, that's all you can really ask, I guess.
But you look at the 3D of this.
It's that looks like
That's bad.
That looks like a student made Steam game. If anyone ever seen go just type in Steam, hit page 105, and you'll find games that look like that basically. Well, that's what the movie looked like.
Oh my God, yeah. But so anyway, dude, know what's even fucking crazier? Know who's also in this stupid Sir Billy movie? Oh. Alan Cumming, who was also in a Bond movie. He was in GoldenEye. He was Boris.
Oh, really?
That's
kind of
crazy. What a weird mix-up.
It's a small world, right?
Exactly. So okay.
We're outside of the train.
We're outside the train. What makes me mad about that whole train sequence is the fact that it's not the fact that they fucked up the fight, which that's a problem. And it's also not a fact that they so these things make me mad, but I'll tell you what makes me the most upset. So the things that, messed up the fight, that's annoying. That random Gatling gun dude, chain gun dude spawns out of nowhere for no reason. That makes me upset. But what makes me upset is they took a movie, padded it out with action sequences that don't belong there for the plot. And in the one action scene that's in the movie, the one legitimate, actually not in the one, there's more than one, but the first legitimate, good action scene, and 1960, as close as 1963 can get to balls to the wall.
Yeah.
The first action sequence, they don't even let you do.
Nope.
You watch it happen.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the gameplay, which, once again, we've been ragging on this. The gameplay is actually a shitload of fun. I want to reiterate that. I actually enjoyed playing this game. It just is not the best game I've ever played by any stretch.
I wondered while I was playing the game that if it wasn't a James Bond game, would I actually enjoy it? And I don't know if I would.
That's a good question.
Because, again, remember, you had Guitar Hero and Half-Life 2.
It doesn't stand up at all compared to everything else that came out.
That's what I'm saying. Trying to like paint a picture of like other games that came out during that time. That this game, if it was like a completely different, like original title, a different story, like would this have actually have been good? Like would I've actually even thought about playing this game? And the answer is probably not.
No, I mean if it had, I also wonder if they limited their gameplay designs to suit what they thought James Bond would be. So, like, I bet you if they kept the same... Because, like, I think the mechanic of how when you lock onto things and then hit another... Like, on the Xbox, it's the Y button. I don't know what it would be on the GameCube, but how you lock onto an enemy and then you hit the Y button and then you can, like, target specific, like high damage points on the body. I think it's a really cool mechanic.
It was pretty
cool. And they
cool.
designed the game around it where, like it would have been way too easy if it was like a normal like twin stick FPS or twin stick third person controller game or third person shooter game, in the sense where like the right stick lets you completely control the accuracy, like 100%. You can't control the accuracy at all well in this game.
Like once you're locked on, it's just like it's basically like center mass. Almost.
Exactly, and that's fine. So like the game would have been too easy if it gave you more control, if that makes sense. Like, and it's already easy.
It's a pretty easy game,
but
actually.
like I feel like there is a way to make that mechanic interesting. It's just that they locked themselves into the Bond game and couldn't do anything with it. So like I think there is a good game buried inside these mechanics. It just didn't come out.
They would have needed to do a different movie, honestly.
They would have needed to do it. It didn't even have to be a movie. It could just be, they would have just have to do something different. Like, which is just not this movie.
Which is what the studio did, though, with the previous game the year before with Everything or Nothing, which is a complete...
Is it the same? I know it's EA published it, but is it the same studio?
It's the same studio. Because like
really?
I know, like, you know, I don't hope I'm not spoiling this for your podcast listener. You're going to be doing that game
at some point, yeah.
But you'll see when you play that game, they take that lock-on system. And it's basically the same thing, except without you don't have the damage positions, but you can move the reticle around and shoot him like in the head and stuff like that in different body parts. So they use that system in the old, but that game is completely original. It's a completely original story.
I also love how those games like Nightfire, Agent Under Fire, and I guess that one kind of has like a Bond song for it, which I think is cool.
I highly recommend even anyone listening to this play the Everything or Nothing, because William Dafoe is the bad guy in that game, by the way.
Oh my god,
he is the Bond villain.
That's great.
It is amazing.
Right, we got to rush with this because we're already like an hour and 35 in.
Damn.
And yeah, we've been going for a while.
So basically what happens in the game then is that you get off the train, you shoot up the train station, and you're trying to follow Maria Menounos, like, and she has Lecter, and get her back.
And for some reason, they know where she's at.
Yeah. And like eventually you fight Red Grant in a boss battle, which is ridiculously easy. All you just do is shoot them. Everyone's a bullet sponge in this game.
That's all it is. There's no mechanics. You just hide behind cover and shoot, and then maybe hit their weak spots with that extra
do a little more extra damage. That's really it. So you feed him. He dies. I'm going to put air quotes around that.
Because he comes back in the part that's not part of the movie at all.
We're going to get to that in a second. I'm going to blast through this. Because so after that, what happens is you basically chase, because that doesn't happen in the movie at all. This part, you go to the
normally
warehouse.
After the train in the movie, they leave the train. They actually hop off the train, not at a train station. They hop off the train beforehand, steal some dude's truck. Who they kind of posit that he's one of the bad guys too.
He was the guy waiting for Grant.
So they tie him up, and then they go to a boat, and then they take the boat, and then bad guy. That's where the bad guys actually find them after they get off the train. And it's actually a pretty good action sequence of Bond blowing up a bunch of like oil barrels to like stop the progress of it.
There is one slight thing you missed in the movie though. After they get on they steal a truck, a helicopter comes and starts shooting them.
Oh, that was super random. I forgot about that.
It is pretty random. And then like James Bond shoots the guy who's holding a grenade and explodes the helicopter. That's how he does it in the movie. So actually, I thought the scene was pretty neat.
I thought the scene was pretty. The scene is neat. The concept was dumb.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta get used to that, being a Bond fan. So in the movie, they just take the boat and then they're kind of escaping. So in the game, you go to a factory, which I don't know how you knew where to go, because
they tell you. MI6
that's
just
really
knows.
It. Yeah, they know everything. You fly through the factory, killing again loads and loads of people, and she of course gets away. You don't really see her, there's really no point in being there. I don't know why. You get in your car, you escape the factory, you destroy the whole factory, and then you get in your car and you're trying to basically get to the boat where she's at. I think. Wait, did you get the Lecter at this point?
I think you have the Lecter now. Yeah, you have the Lecter now because you tracked her to there to get the Lecter from her. You kill her, you blow up the facility, and it's got one of those escape sequences.
Which kill her again, quotes.
Yeah. Does she actually come? Oh, yeah, she does come back later.
Come back.
I know Grant comes back, but I forgot that... I forget what Maria Menounos' character's name even is.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
she's
think
just secondary henchman, like Grant 2 or something. I don't know. You escape from that factory, though. You go on to the boat then from there.
Which is basically a big car chase.
And then you have another car chase, quote unquote, but it's on a boat.
Yeah, where you just destroy hundreds of boats then.
Once again, adding to that body count.
Not exaggerating. You think I'm like really like going overboard? It is like a 20-minute sequence of you just shooting boats. It's crazy. It's on rail sequence. It was very.
I forgot it was on rails.
Oh
too.
yeah, it's completely on rails. So you get through that, and they do at the end of that sequence. They do a little nod to the movie where like they release the drum barrels of gas and they shoots it with his machine gun in the game,
which was a lot cooler in the movie. They had the shot in the movie so good. Yeah. You see Bond on a boat. He's like points the gun. He's wearing kind of a goofy hat, but like the framing of the shot is so fucking perfect. It just looks awesome,
and it's huge explosions.
Yeah,
actually,
especially in 1963.
Yeah, and in the movie, little fact again. Some people got really hurt. Actually,
you could kind of see it. They spent that movie made me really uncomfortable in that scene because when he blows up those barrels and you see people on fire jumping into the water, and it's not like you just see it like a quick second. It lingers. Like it almost feels like the director's enjoying watching these people on fire. It's kind of creepy.
There's a couple ones where it explodes, and you could clearly see that guy was in the wrong position and gets caught in the explosion, and you can see him kind of freak out a little bit. Also, side note too, I believe his filming of that sequence where Terrence Young, who was the director of the movie, his helicopter lost power and crashed into the ocean.
What?
Yep, and he had to be rescued by the crew, and apparently within the hour he was back behind the camera again filming.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's kind of how they did it back then, right?
Oh yeah, they're just like, no, just don't care. They just keep on trucking.
So. The next sequence after you escape from the boat is kind of actually pretty similar from the movie to the game. And in the game, you have no control over it. So it's just a cinematic of it's you and Tatiana. You're in the bed, and like basically Rosa Klebb comes in, and she's like trying
the villain who orchestrated the whole thing at the beginning of the story,
according to the game.
Yeah, according to the game, but she's the main villain of the movie essentially. Yeah. Even though she didn't orchestrate the plan in the movie, she did carry it out.
It's one last ditch effort to get the Lecter, and she grabs it, and she's telling Tanya, she's like, shoot, or like, oh yeah, her and Bond are fighting, Klebb and Bond, and Klebb's like, shoot Bond, and Tanya shoots Klebb
instead because
which happens in the movie.
For those who don't remember from the beginning of the episode, Tanya was recruited by Klebb to kind of be an undercover spy, but once Tanya finds out that Klebb's also evil,
and she falls
the fact
in love
that she loves, because every woman in those movies they can have 2 seconds of a scene together, and that woman all of a sudden is just like, oh my god, you're my favorite.
That does happen in this series, so.
A lot.
So that's the end of the movie. So we don't have to that's basically how the movie ends. Like it's and they go off. And
there's a really cheesy scene where they're on a gondola in like Venice, and he takes the film of them that was filmed. They were both filmed unknowingly having sex. They didn't know they were being filmed. Well, no, they knew they were having sex. They did not know they were being filmed.
Yeah,
unknowingly being filmed while having sex.
Okay, I had to take a little bit of a train ride to get to that.
Well, it was because I said unknowingly having sex. I'm like, that didn't make sense.
That would be very interesting.
Like, whoa, what's happening?
What's going on with you? I don't know.
Well, I feel really good, though.
This is great. I like
Who
this.
Who are you?
Awesome. What a great night.
Other couple that just unknowingly, consistently have sex. It's like, who would have thought?
I had a great dream last night. How about you? I also had a great dream. It was fantastic. I feel so much better today.
And then like a week later, she's like, oh, I'm not getting my period.
I think it's Immaculate Conception.
There you go. Because we haven't done anything, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what's
That's how
going
Jesus
on.
was born.
It was just actually sleepwalking. That's awful. That's so sacrilegious. So Bond has the film that Spectre took of them having sex, and he throws it into the ocean, into the water. But the shot is so weird because it's just a close up of his hand with the film, and he's twirling it like he's twirling a wand.
Yeah, it is kind of
weird. And
weird.
he's going like this, and when he tosses it, it's not like he throws it like a baseball. He literally like a flick of the wrist. Yeah. And then it gets a shot of the film floating down the river, and then it cuts back to him doing the most awkward wave I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's not the best ending.
No.
Last sequence. It's not the word.
When I watched it again on Sunday, my wife came home just at the tail end of the movie, so she saw that and just burst out laughing, and she's like, "Why are you watching this?" I'm like, "It's a great movie. Stop judging me."
It's one of John F. Kennedy's favorite movies. Also,
it's a great movie.
Also, the last movie he saw before he died.
That's really dark. Holy shit.
So like the movie, that's how the movie ends. The game does not end there. There is, I think it's one full mission.
There's at least 2 or 3.
Is it 2 or 3?
Because they literally are like, after the movie plot ends, the game continues, like you said, and you just get a transmission from MI6 saying, Spectre has a nuclear warhead that they're going to blow up the United Kingdom with. What? Sorry?
Octopus.
Sorry, Octopus. There's no Spectre in this game.
We don't want to get sued.
Well, we can't anymore.
Don't say that. That's how you get sued.
We don't own this. We own the podcast.
Allegedly.
I own the podcast.
Allegedly.
Sorry, go on though.
But so like they drop into this base, and this is just pure fan service, and you literally just go to this base just gunning down. It's extremely long sequences of just corridor shooting. You find Maria Menounos, she's in a jet fighter, and you're in a jetpack, and you're basically just shooting.
You're both in jetpacks. Yeah. No one's in a jet fighter. She's in a fighter.
She's in a fighter.
She's actually in a fighter, yes. like a jet plane.
Yes, a real plane.
And you're fighting her in a jetpack with a machine gun.
But she's also not taking off. She's just sitting in the jet plane, just shooting missiles.
Oh my god!
I'm not joking. This is
I didn't
serious.
get to see this part of the game.
I know. I forgot about it after the fact, and I was like, I should have shown you this. Because all you do is you just dodge the missiles and shoot her, and then what happens is she freaks out, and you're in an underground, obviously she's in a fighter, you're in an underground, runway hangar, and she just takes off and flies straight into a wall. Straight down. The door's not open, she just took off because I guess it's really bad. It's a lame way to die. And
to be fair, her character really did nothing for the story.
Yep, and she died pretty uselessly too. So that's again, and what happens after that? You go back to shooting a bunch of people.
And then you go to fight the only interesting boss of the game, it looks like. Because when I saw the video, you fight Red Grant, but he's in this spider thing.
Yeah, it's this weird he's hanging from he's in a dome construct hanging from the ceiling, and he has appendages. I think it's 4 appendages that have different weapons on them. One's like a machine gun, one's like a laser, and you have to shoot each one.
That's actually an interesting boss fight, though.
Yeah, it's the only interesting thing. Oh, I will also say there's a little bit of fan service in that exact level. For some reason, there's a rocket that's literally the exact model of the rocket from You Only Live Twice. Which is just the whole last level is really just fan service because it looks like all the old school like
Spectre bases and
so
stuff.
it's all
octopus bases.
Yeah, octopus. I know it's hard.
it's so stupid.
Yeah, it's all the rooms that would it looks exactly like how the control room would look like in You Only Live Twice.
Yeah.
And, so again, pure fan service, and then you get the Red Grant at the very end, and you're fighting him.
And you just blow up the thing.
Yeah, you just shoot him a bunch of times. But
just like the other. Well, you blow up all his arms. Do you have to shoot him after you blow up all the
Yes.
arms too? Okay, so there's a 2-part to the boss fight too.
Then. It's just it's not that hard. It's just because there's a big cover in front of you, so it's and there's unlimited ammo behind it. So you as soon as he stops firing, you run out of ammo, just run and grab some more. So it's really it's just easy.
It's just tedious. You just have to take the time to do it.
And after it explodes and he falls out and he's on the ground, you walk up and he's taunting you you can't shoot me in cold blood. That's not very gentlemanlike.
That's not the British way.
Yeah.
And then he does it anyway.
Yeah. And then Red Grant tries to pull a gun on him and Bond just shoots him in the chest.
And that's how the game ends, pretty much. I mean, then you go back to Tanya, and then they have like a lovey-dovey moment. And,
that's
and
like
that's pretty much how the game ends. What a weird game. Like, it's just everything about it is so strange. It's like, it's weird because it's taking a movie that's in a very specific time and place in pop culture, the 60s, and then also combining it with a very specific place in pop culture with one-hit wonder, which I'm not trying to take anything from Natasha Bedingfield. I like her song.
You really have like a thing against her. I mean, like, what did she do to you?
I think she's a lovely, talented woman.
Did you have like a breakup with like a high school sweetheart back then? And like that was the song that was playing on the radio, and you're like, Natasha Bedingfield.
My life isn't unwritten. It's written now. It's
written in blood.
It's written in my tears.
Oh yeah, there you go. Mine was a little more dark.
Crimson.
Yours was a little more emo. So,
but same diff. And then same Maria Menounos, like she's not. No, when I mentioned that to someone else, to one of my coworkers, she actually knew who she was, like from the E Insider thing. I'm like,
it was.
I don't watch. I guess I just don't watch.
E was extremally popular back then, so it's not shot because even I was like, I know that name from something. So I mean, I think it was just she might have been the more pop. I don't know who would be more popular. Either way,
I would say Natasha Bedingfield is, only because I still know that name.
Yeah,
even though I haven't heard any music from her in ages.
Yeah, I knew specifically what she was from. I knew she did a song. I couldn't remember the song, but until you told me. But I knew that's what she was famous for. She was a singer.
It's such a odd idea to do, but I'm happy they did it at the same time. We've ragged a lot on the problems this game has, but I guess because really what it sums up right is so short. There's not a lot that it sums up right, but it's plentiful, if that makes sense. The gameplay itself is actually a lot of fun. It's just very simplistic. So when we describe the game combat, I don't know about you, but I love that combat. I think it's actually a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was just at a certain point, it got I'm like, repetitive. I've done this hundreds of times.
We have a country of bodies behind us.
Oh man, and because I got through 3/4 of this game, and I was playing. I would say maybe 3 or 4 hours, and that was really it. And I'm like, I just killed so many people.
You already know the whole mechanics by this point.
It doesn't really layer anything. You can use gadgets, but they're not necessary.
They are to some spots, but they're not necessary for the right. They're necessary in very specific instances, and that's it.
Yeah.
They're not used as it doesn't give you some different way to play the game.
There's no incentive to do it.
Exactly.
And then the menu system being so it's not great. Also, one thing I would say about the menu system, switching guns doesn't tell you how much ammo there is until you actually unpause and the gun you have equipped. Then you look, oh, I don't have any ammo. Then you have to switch to another gun and see how much ammo.
I could see how much ammo I had on the gun I had equipped.
Oh no, in the menu screen.
Oh yeah, when you're switching. Yeah, you're right. You can't. Until you switch to that weapon, you don't know how much ammo is left in it.
In a game where you're shooting so many people, ammo is not. It's plentiful, but it doesn't.
You run out more than you would think.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times where you're using guns that you're I don't really use this gun a lot, so
because it's not good in this situation. Yeah. I found myself in a open field with a shotgun. I'm this is fucking useless, but it's all the ammo I have.
Shotgun it's literally a one pump shotgun, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And even if you're up close against someone, it's not a guaranteed kill. I was standing next to someone, I shot him point blank, and he was still alive. I'm like, are you kidding me? This gun sucks. It's a fully upgraded shotgun.
It should just be dead. They should just be dead. So, I guess to wrap this up, because we're almost at 2 hours now.
Wow.
We're at an hour and 50 right now. I have some couple things to edit out, but we're at an hour and 50. Do you recommend this game? Would you recommend someone at least try it?
I would recommend this for anyone who loves James Bond. If you have no affinity to the actual franchise, I would say no, because I think the charm is really just in that. The gameplay is just it's a game. It's not bad. It's just not great.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think for someone who doesn't like James Bond, they're not going to enjoy it nearly as much.
I would agree with that. I'm the same, but I actually recommend it, but once again, only for James Bond fans, because it's fun. It's almost fun to play ironically in a weird sense. It is legitimately fun, but it's the only reason you'd keep going is because you're well, this is dumb. Let me keep going to see how much more dumb it gets, type of thing.
My whole thing when I played this and I wanted to get to the end was I saw what the missions the names were, and I saw, there's a whole back part of this game that's not in the movie, and I was very curious to see how they handle it. Now it was shit, how it was handled. But I was still very like that was my goal. I was like, I want to see what they did with this.
There is one thing I wanted to say that I think is good game design, and this one aspect that I thought was good game design. It's the bonus levels, and the reason I'm not the bonus levels themselves. You were telling me you saw some of the gameplay of it, and they were shit.
Yeah, I watched some
but
playthroughs.
the idea of how you obtain them. So. I'm kind of regurgitating this point from a Retronauts episode from a actually completely different game, not even with this game. They did a Super Mario World episode, and they talked about how the reward system for Super Mario World was really good because it rewarded you for exploring. Like the whole concept of Mario World was like there's so many secrets, so you would explore a level and you have one exit, but there's also sometimes hidden exits and also hidden items, and almost all the time your reward for going out of your way and actually exploring more of the game they made was more Super Mario World. It would open up a new level for you. Now, the way that this game does it is that it rewards you for playing each level well. There's like 4 not stars. Stars are like the individual like bond moments that you get in the game, I guess, but like there's individual like skill achievements. I guess it's skill points for lack of a better term. It's like how fast can you beat it? Did you beat it on the most difficult setting? Did you find the bond moment in each level? And there's a 4th one which I think it's just killing a certain number of enemies.
Yeah, I think so.
Which you almost always hit. I never hit it. Like there's a lot.
Just mowing people down.
And so you get like a skill point. I forget what they call it in the game, but we'll just call it a skill point for now. For each one, and each level has 4 of them that you can get. So if you get 4 of them, then the more you get, then depending on how many you get, will unlock the extra level. So by you actually taking your time and going through the levels, you will and like exploring everything and getting everything in the level, you will actually unlock more game to play. So if you really like this game, by you taking the time and going back and like really like almost doing a completionist style thing, you get more game as a reward for it, which is a really cool feedback loop that you don't see a lot of games do too often.
The first time I actually saw that was in Rogue Squadron.
Yeah?
Yeah, they did that where like, you had to bomb certain things or take out specific like side objectives, and you get basically the same thing. You earn enough, they did stars. You earn enough stars, you unlock like levels like Hoth or like the Death Star trench run and stuff like that.
And that creates a really good feedback loop because it rewards players like, hey, we made this game we're really proud of. You play it, and if you play a lot of it, you're going to get more game. Like it's not just like the satisfaction of doing well in it. It's the satisfaction doing well with it, and you also get more places to explore.
I just wish, like, from what I saw about these special levels, that they were
special in quotations.
Yeah, they're the most. They're just sections of other levels, mainly like driving ones, where you're just gunning down people at the very end. It just and there's no cutscene or anything. It's just like, hey, you want to shoot more people? Here you go. Here's another level for it. That's really it.
But all right, so. That should wrap this all up.
Yep. I think we said enough.
We did. I mean, it's almost 2 hours in.
If you're staying with us, props to you.
Yeah. If you remember, about halfway through, we talked about Octopus. Yes. Now, in this one, if you made it all the way through to here, send us a hashtag Octopus Strong.
Octopus Strong.
Octopus Strong. I want to hear
it.
So to either Know Geeks Allowed podcast, Know Geeks Allowed on Instagram, or Still Loading Pod on Instagram, or you can send it to me on @StillLoadingPod on Twitter as well, which I guess leads us right into the plugs, though. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @StillLoadingPod on all of them. If you would like to support the show, if you like what I do and you would like me to be able to expand on this, please consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/StillLoadingPod. Even just giving $1 a month would help me expand the show out to be able to do more things. So please consider checking that out. And I guess actually shout out to one of my patrons, my friend, a friend of mine named Andy, who actually, it's a personal friend of mine. He actually donates to my Patreon. So that's really
so awesome. Good
shout
job,
out to Andy. Actually, he's an author too. Shout out. He has a Western book. I think you can follow him on Twitter. You know what? Well, I'm doing that. Do you have any quick? I have to look up his Twitter handle because I don't remember off the top of my head.
As you mentioned,
what are some social media stuff for you?
As you mentioned, like we really mainly on Instagram. We got to do a better job of posting stuff. So it's at KG or at No Geeks Allowed on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm terrible at plugging things. I usually make my co-host do
It's
it.
No Geeks Allowed on Twitter, KGA Podcast on
look.
KGA Podcast on Twitter, No Geeks Allowed on Instagram,
So you're asking
and
me.
I think it's just at No Geeks Allowed on Facebook as well. I think you have a Facebook page.
We really just do the Instagram because we just like posting pictures.
That's
and
the
stuff.
same. Twitter is difficult for me.
Yeah, I don't
It's
have
not
anything
that
to
fun.
say.
Andy, my friend who's also a patron, you can follow him on at Andrew_J_Landis LANDIS on Twitter. So Andy, thank you very much for donating to my Patreon. And so do you have anything left to plug? We already talked about your podcast, No Geeks Allowed, but
I would just check out the podcast.
And actually, you guys are currently doing a run of cheesy horror movies, right?
We did Jason X, Sleepaway Camp. We were going to do Cabin Fever, but unfortunately, the episode was destroyed by Audacity, so that sucks. But we're going to be doing Child's Play, so that'll be a fun one because the original Child's Play, because that movie sucks.
And it is KGA Podcast on Twitter as well, by the way. Just to make sure.
Just check us out. Just tune in, listen to me just shit on my movies, shit on my co-host.
Yeah, make him mad.
Yeah, just me and my co-host James just making each other upset.
And actually, your guys' podcast and my podcast are all part of the same network, the Podbeard Network. So you can check it out, podbeardnetwork.com. Check out all the great shows on there. And I think that should be it.
I think that's it. I think this is a good episode.
It is. So, Bryan, thank you very much for joining me for this week.
Thanks for having me on, Josh.
And that should be it. So I will see you all next time.
Later.